Tommy, when did you decide to get into this business?
In the vertical business?
Yes. Yes, sorry.
I would say last May I read an article. It was in the Financial Times about the vertical microdrama space and the boom of it, and I wasn't aware of it at the time, so I kind of like started studying it from that point on. And I was in Spain on a train reading the article, and at the same time, these teen girls got on it and literally popped up on their phone and started watching microdramas on their phone. And so I realized like it just hit me right. It was all kind of the stars aligned, and so I did a deep dive in it. I started meeting with all the platforms, executives at the platforms, CEOs, and producers that were making the content. And traditionally, my day job is TV and film, so I produced like Top Gun, and I just came in.
We'll get to these.
Yeah. Okay. So I came into the space of like a student, and one of the things what I did right away was reach out to a few actors, and I found one that was producing a independent microdrama called Love Under Fire, and so I invested in it and produced it and just learned at the ground floor. And I found it fascinating because as a producer, I just like making things, and I like this style of making it fast. From the business side, I like the kind of the platform building. I was one of the crazy people that went and built their own platform and went and found some money, and we're launching it soon. So for me, it's a blast. It's a lot of fun. But I would say, yeah, not quite a year.
Tommy, as someone who produces like a show like Wednesday, when we did our prep call, there was like a board. You were sitting in front of a board, and I was trying to see what was on there. And movies like Beetlejuice. Can you talk about the vast differences in how these shows are made and in the productions? I mean, the time, the timeline, the budgets. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, from one side of the spectrum is you do Wednesday or Top Gun, you're creating these things for years. You're developing them. It is a massive undertaking to build the world and kind of like the brand, and it takes 2 years to get the script right. It takes a year or two to shoot them, a year to promote them. The opposite with this, I was on the phone this morning talking about a project and saying, okay, can we shoot in 6 weeks? And my producer for Verticals was like, yeah, that's fine, no problem. We'll be ready. It's the complete opposite, which I love. So that part excites me, and I think what we want to do is push the boundaries. I want to do everything in the vertical space that, in a way, I'm doing in my traditional TV and film, with the understanding of what works, right? I'm not going to try to change that. I understand what works. I understand the efficiencies, but I want to do action. I want to do, horror. I want to do romance. I want to hit like, Gen Z world, but we're very much PG-13. We don't go, hardcore 17 and all that stuff. But I think that the audience this is a TV in your pocket, and everybody's on it. Everybody's watching. So if you can give the content that people want to keep coming back to, and you kind of learn what's worked in traditional TV and film with good stories and good actors, and just making people kind of want to be engaged, I think that can work in this format just as much as it does everywhere else.
I assume that there are academics somewhere who are studying why Quibi, which came out in 2020, I believe, and had a similar idea, but a very different business model. Huge stars, very high budgets, but short consumable content on the phone right when everyone was stuck at home. Bad timing. But can you talk about like what your thoughts are about what Quibi knew and what it did right and what it did wrong?
Yeah, I think, first of all, this is the first thing that comes up when we begin to discuss this type of content with traditional media partners. They all have this fear of going into this space, and that's what's going to happen. First of all, I think they were ahead of their time. And timing was not perfect, but I think the main mistake, if I can summarize, there potentially, as you were saying, there should be major studies on this, but I think it was treating the content the same way, just in a different viewing ratio or aspect. Just thinking the same thing is going to work, and I'm going to consume it on a vertical way. And that is that is what I think the industry went into. Like, yeah, it makes sense. The idea makes sense, but you need to adapt, and you need to kind of think it in a different way and not just like bring that. What we are seeing is we're talking with traditional media partners since a couple of years on when we began sowing this trend, and they were not sure about it. And you see what's going on. Disney and NBC announced on Disney Plus and Peacock this week that they are going into verticals content. And the announcement came with, and this is public, I'm not sharing anything that it's not been shared already, but the announcement came with the fact of them saying what Tommy was going into. We are going to utilize this to understand more of how this content is being consumed, but then at the same time, we're going to be getting into some things that are going to be from our current IP being produced into some other things. So I think you need to spend some time, again, going back to the initial questions on the correlation with YouTube and understanding, and not treat this as just the same media and just the same consumption habits. You need to understand that this is potentially a different animal.
But to get started, would you each just go down the line and introduce yourselves a bit? You know, each of you has different series or characters or styles or niches that you use on social media. So talk to us a little bit about what it is that you do on your platforms.
Hi, I'm Sabrina. Hi. And I do sketch comedy primarily online. I basically am always posting in that context in a character. And I live in New York, so I'm often called like the girl who runs around New York and makes videos. And they often focus on female friendship, and they're definitely comedy driven, but kind of get into a little more emotional vibes. And that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julian. I'm a comedian and interviewer, and I have a couple shows I have online. I have one called Recess Therapy, where I interview kids in parks and playgrounds. I have another one called Celebrity Substitute, where we have celebrities teach at public elementary schools for a day. And then this summer, I'm launching YouTube's first late night show. So I do a lot of fun stuff. Mina?
Oh, thank you. Hi, I'm Mina. I'm a video essayist primarily on YouTube, so I do like long format, 40-ish minute videos about culture, fashion, film. I'm also a writer, so I've been having some success on Substack, but yeah. Bri. Hi, I'm Bri. I host a show called Are You Okay?, where I interview funny comedians and celebs, asking them really dumb questions to figure out if they're okay or not. And I'm also a baby content creator myself, doing whatever I want to do. That's it.
Hello, I'm Vinny. I do stuff on the internet as well. I post videos on Instagram that are usually character focused. A lot of them are animals, sometimes aliens, sometimes political stuff. I started out on Twitter, but now that that's ashes, I post a lot on Threads. Yeah.
It used to be that everyone big on social got famous by accident, and that is still happening. But also, these platforms are old enough now, and you all are young enough that you might have been strategizing this as a way to break into film and television. And there's also creators for whom, you know, this is the destination. You don't necessarily need a TV show anymore to have like a successful career, you know, creating content that people see and making real money. So talk to me a bit about, you know, what your relationships to those mediums are. Are you trying to break into something else? Are you already where you want to be?
Lovely question, by the way. So I've been performing and creating since I was little. That's always been the dream. I've always wanted to be an actress. And when I graduated college, I went right into, like a month after graduating, I started as an assistant to a talent manager. And honestly, like at those days, my goal was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to get staffed on a show, and then I'm going to go, surprise, I can act. Can I be in it? So that was my plan, honestly. And I did the assistant thing about 5 years. I was a writer's assistant on a network show, writer's PA. I've nannied for a showrunner. I've like done the whole running around the city thing. And I honestly, this was not in the cards. You know, I was planning on being like an elderly assistant and like kind of just, you know, finding my way in at some point. And then I started posting in 2020, but I was not a breakout 2020 person. I started just on Instagram, where it was pre-reels, so there was no
IGTV?
Right, literally. It's like
I loved IGTV.
It's like if you were, I'm not sure if you're old enough for pre-reels, but he's like, okay, catching a stray. But so so it was like about a year of like 1,000 views on a video and just kind of building that muscle. And then one day I threw something on TikTok, which was so foreign to me. And I would ask my Gen Z sister, like, what the hell is going on over here? And didn't understand it at all, but kind of just found my way in, had like a mini viral video. And then once that happened, I was so ready to try to become a content creator that the second I had that viral moment, I really was like, I must catch lightning in a bottle. And then I went like crazy, repeating what I had done until finally I was able to morph everything into the kinds of material I'm interested in, which is, you know, interpersonal, friendship, kind of social types of stuff with a comedic flair. So anyways, the point is that's always been in the cards. I have interest. I've always been interested in directing and writing, and I'm able to do that in a mini way. But I actually do feel like, you know, I have a theater education and I have a comedy education, and I definitely feel like my online education has been so valuable, which sounds kind of funny sometimes, but I know that I've developed skills from it for sure. So it's always been in the cards, but this path was definitely unexpected, and I'm very grateful for it.
Same. No. No, quick and dirty, I went to kind of similar. I went to school for theater. I studied acting and playwriting, and have always just wanted to work in the traditional entertainment industry. And then in COVID, when I like couldn't do theater, I started making videos and found a place online. And for the longest time, I think my goal was to use it as a stepping stone. I think it was always the way to like get to this big lofty goal. But I would say really in the past year and a half, I feel like the internet is catching up with the traditional entertainment space in a really exciting way. And I pitched a TV show in 2022, 3, Grayson, when was that? Whatever. It didn't go. And that was like heartbreaking then. And now I don't know if I'm launching a new show on digital. I am really investing in digital because like there are so many gatekeepers and so many barriers of entry. And it's much more interesting and engaging to self-produce and build my own team and be creative on my own with the people that I want to make with, than kind of feel like on the flip side, kind of I was feeling like I was begging to be let in. So anyway, yeah, I've like really bought into digital, and it's a very exciting time to be here. So yeah.
I want to echo those sentiments. Also, because I did have like almost like an overnight success, which was like a little bit different, but I was so grateful for. I, like these two, got into acting. I went to an acting conservatory, which was not a terrible mistake, but I was working at a stationery store in the West Village before I became a content creator, and I was let go during the pandemic. They actually just closed the store without telling me, and my coworker was like, "Hey, Queen, like, don't come to work today." And I was like, "Why?" And they're like, "It's closed." So I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll move back home to Maryland." Did that, and I was just on YouTube like every day because I was like, "There's nothing for me to do." I'm like waiting for my unemployment checks to come in. And I fell into this like film commentary space on YouTube. And I was like, hey, like, I love watching these things. I love talking about these things. Like, why not try? And I think, luckily for me, I've always been kind of like a go-getter person. And I think also 5-6 years ago, there was less pressure to be a content creator. It was still like an industry that was building. Like, you could just put things and people wouldn't be like, oh, she's trying to create a career from this. And so it felt very freeing and liberating in that way. But I did get a viral video where I was like discussing Disney princess costumes, which my mom was like, this is the reason you're not gonna keep applying for work. And I was like, yes. So I think, like Julian, I thought about it as initially like, this is going to launch me into something else in traditional media. I've always had this reverence for Hollywood, for variete. But over the last... unpaid. Over the last couple years, it's like, I've seen like the traditional and digital start to bridge between each other. And I'm like, I think traditional, like, there were a lot of gatekeepers, but now they're like, we actually are very interested in digital. We want to create things with digital. And I'm like, I still love digital. So I think it's a really exciting time to be on these platforms.
My way into this was like a little bit different. I went to school for journalism. I was like, I'm going to be that bitch on the ground. I'm going to go undercover to other countries. I'm going to do it. And then I like reality checked in and I was like, well, okay, I'll do it in a way. I did an externship at CNN and they were like, do you want to work here? And I was like, no. I don't know why, but no. And then I did another externship at Now This, the company that owns the show that I host. And I was like, all right, this feels good. It's young. It's digital first, but it's journalism. That's like, felt like a nice, I don't know, it felt new and it felt like it was pushing boundaries. And I loved that. And I covered the election. I covered true crime, random, the person with the most tattoos in the world. Like, I did everything. And then the, media landscape kind of changed and we pivoted into social shows and they were like, do you want to host? And I was like, I mean, I can, whatever. And then I was like, actually, yeah, I'll totally try. And then it kind of just took off. And so I think in terms of like the future, because I came from a journalism background, I'm like, I'll try it all. Like, I'll do all the things. Someone was like, do you want to like act in this thing? And I was like, no, but sure. Like, I don't have an acting background, but I'll give it my best go. I'll try. I like am a person that like wants to do everything I do really, really well. And I want to give like 150%. And so I think that the digital landscape now is just like, throw something at the wall and the right audience will come, which I really love. And so I'm down for anything, really.
The year was 2020. I was living in Chicago. I was doing improv. I was working at the aquarium. I was comfortable with where my life was. I thought I would. I thought I would age gracefully into the kind of person who like taught people how to do improv. And then, the pandemic, everything shut down. I started posting videos online because that just kind of every comedian in Chicago was doing that because that's how we would perform, right? I mean, you can't go out and do stuff, so you're just posting videos for each other. And it felt very local at the time, but ultimately everyone can see the internet. So like, as I was posting those videos, I was getting attention from people in more traditional media circles, one of whom was Billy Eichner, who asked me if I wanted to audition for his gay rom-com Bros. I did. I was cast as gay Twitter witch number 3. Just being kind of this brutal little twink. Ultimately, I was cut out of the movie, but the guy who co-directed that, Nick Stoller, ended up putting me in some of his other work going forward. So I developed a lot of these other relationships within like traditional entertainment because I had assembled this huge body of work online that became this kind of like portfolio. And sometimes I still do improv. Yeah.
and maybe you guys will resonate. I feel like over time, you kind of maybe sort of go from like, I want to try this, try that. And it's like the algorithm is like a monster that eats consistency. And like at once, I'm typically outside in kind of an extra outfit and I'm talking directly to the camera and I'm getting right into some interpersonal situation. And once in a while I stray slightly, but for the most part, the algo is like, girl, what are you doing? You can't do that. We want this from you. That's what we're used to. And so at a certain point, but I actually think that's like healthy for me personally in what I do because I think it's good. I think of it as like exercise. It's like there's this certain digital muscle I have where I'm delivering in a sitcom way, like same but different, you know what to expect kind of material that, and I think a lot of the intricacies and what I find so interesting about it is the audience response. They're always in the comments. It's often like a situation where I maybe agree with one character and they're like, we hate her. Like we agree with the other one. Or sometimes I'm doing something that I think is just purely pretty funny. But then you'll have like these kids, like these Gen Z kids being like, this really spoke to me because I felt really excluded. And maybe this is how I'm going to handle it next time. Or there's a whole sort of discourse leg of what I do that I give them all the credit for, right? Like I'm kind of just starting the conversation. So I think when it comes to that whole ecosystem between us, I've learned to sort of let that be. And when it comes to the heart stuff and the things that I want to do in different ways, I write scripts, I audition, I find the other ways to kind of I think of that as like that's the platform that gives me, it's like the engine that I keep running. But I definitely have other aspirations that it's almost a little bit like day job and then the other dream job things around it. Yeah.
I will say I totally agree with the pressure. I totally agree with the pressure of like the algorithm will. When you start, there won't really be a question of what should I do next because the internet will dictate to you, oh, you should do this thing next. I do think at the beginning I was a little resentful of that, and so I would really like, I had a video, the first one that blew up was like me as an alien interviewing Earth to be whatever. That one did really well, and I was like, everyone said, oh, make more Earth videos, and I said, absolutely not. So I'm pivoting to other things, Betty Boop, lipstick smeared on her face, or like, me as a grasshopper. And then those don't do as well. So I do think it is a battle of like, it's like a catch-22 of like when you post the same thing or like something similar more regularly, you'll get more of a following. And maybe once you do get more of that, that's when you pivot into like more enthusiastically making the weird stuff that you really want to make.
For my personal page, because it's a bit smaller, it's literally as little as like people remembering my cat's names. If I'm not mentioning them in the video, they'll be like, oh my God, chicken is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, chicken, that's great. And so that's really fun. If we're talking like for the RUK show page, like the unfun answer is like time spent, likes, views, partnerships, coming in. But I think that and I don't know, like RUK publishes all the time, everywhere. So I feel like we've cracked the algorithm code of just like consistency. And so like I'm now able to like look at other things and be like, oh, that matters. Like if I love like an inclination that someone's consistently watching. So if I said I like fell on my ass yesterday in an episode, I probably have said that. Or today they'll be like, oh, like, are you still bruised or something? You know what I mean? Or they'll be like, wow, she was so short next to X anybody ever. And now they look kind of the same height. This person must be 5'5". Like, those are not great examples, but it shows that they like are a consistent watcher. And another thing is when someone that even if we're like friends or not, will come up to me and be like, I love your show. Something about like a face behind the person on Instagram is always like, oh, that's sick. Like, I love to hear that because it's like more than just a female viewer in her 20s. It's like a person with a face who's like you could see them in IRL and be like, that's really, really cool. Those are mine.
I'm stressed about these metrics.
Yeah.
I try not to give them too much mind.
Yeah.
Let me talk about that. I've been doing recess therapy in April for 5 years, and we've posted 2 to 3 times a week, every week for 5 years of original interviews, and that's a lot. And it has ebbed and flowed. Like, there was like a year where there was not a single video that got like under 2 million views, which was like an awesome year. That's not happening right now. When I've launched new shows that are completely new pages, it is like when we started Celebrity Substitute, like no one was really watching it. And especially like, this is not a YouTube channel. Usually I'm like on a YouTube thing. Like YouTube, it's really hard to launch new stuff on. Like, oh my God, like we're not getting a lot of great organic engagement across any of the platforms. And now we're like a year plus in. We're about to start filming the 3rd season of it. And like people are just starting to kind of click with it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like being too reaction, like I believe in the project. Like say I'm about to start this whole late night thing, and like we're gonna post to a YouTube page that has no subscribers and an Instagram that has no subscribers. And I just feel like I've been training myself to not think too deeply about it until I, in my heart, feel like it's working or not working. And if it's not working, I do pivot, and I have pivoted.
It's like, I'm sure, I bet like all of us, like when we first went viral, it's like a drug. Like it's such a, first of all, it's a crazy feeling. Like your brain can't even like conceptualize that many people looking at something in your face. And I feel like you get so zoomed in on it. And then like over time, you're like, first of all, mental health, not this. This is not it. And also you like, you just realize that you're going to think something's not going to do well and then it does, or vice versa. And there's so much inconsistency and there's so much like ebbing and flowing that at a certain point you kind of go, all right, let me kind of like take my energy away from like the scanning of these metrics and let me just put the energy elsewhere and just kind of keep going. And then I feel like once you do that, you kind of like, now I feel like when I go more viral than usual, I kind of am like, all right, it's like dating. It's like, just don't think about it, you know? But I think that also there's a sort of gratitude aspect to it as well, where you can't kind of look at like a 3-month period or like too quick of a period of like, what's been going on here? What have the numbers been here? It has to be more of like, where was I when I first started this whole journey? What am I doing today that I would never have believed that I would have had an opportunity to do? And are we kind of like headed in the right direction? Like, and I feel like that's how I don't go crazy.
I don't look at the numbers because I feel like it's none of my business.
Sure.
So I've tried before, and like the breakdown and everything is I can't get into it. And maybe I should. I probably should more. But I once noticed the breakdown of like women versus men following me, and it's like so many more women, and I like fixated on that for a while, and I was like, I wonder how I could. And it was like my whole day thinking about how to bring men to my little Instagram page. And I was like, actually, I don't want them. I don't want them there. I love my girls. It's none of my business, the breakdown.
Nielsen is trying to get into rating internet. They're like doing a big, they're trying to figure it out. Who is he? Who is Mr. Nielsen? Mr. Nielsen. Happy birthday, Mr. Nielsen.
I mean, I don't like numbers, but I think they matter. They do matter sometimes, but I think what we're all like correct me if I'm wrong, like trying to say too is that it's like any business, you know, so you have to really believe in what you're doing or else it's going to be like the worst job that you're working. And I think like any business, there's seasons of really good engagement, really great brand deals, like great viewership. And then there's seasons where it's like, it's a little lacking. But the amazing thing about content that is not the same for like other parts of the industry is like if your show doesn't do well, it gets canceled. But if my show doesn't do well, I still have next week to do well. I have like the week after that. And so I think as long as I still love what I'm doing, then it doesn't matter so much. I'm still able to keep pushing over like the humps. And I think that's really, it's mental, so much of it.
In my experience, I do feel it's like sometimes there are those outliers where my manager's like, so they called. And I'm like, and I'm so, also because I do comedy and I'm pretty commercial, I'm pretty clean. So you can kind of like do that about a lot. But the reality of what I do is it's comedy, but it delves into fashion, New York, beauty, you know, lifestyle. It kind of like touches on those things. You know, through the fiction. And so I do feel like I've been lucky where that's so what I just named, just that's so many brands. And so, you know, I think for me there was a little bit more of a, in the beginning you start to get scared about doing too many deals because you think your audience is going to get mad at you, but they don't care anymore because they get it now. But yeah, I feel like I don't know, my experience is I've been pretty lucky with sort of putting something specific out there and then kind of receiving that same energy from people who align.
Oh my God, welcome to the club.
Thank you. And so I did go to an event last night talking to someone who works with, and I said, I'm dying for a cat deal. I'm dying for one.
Yo.
I gotta. But anyways.
Little robot. I have 5 cats if you ever want to talk.
Oh my God. Okay, we'll talk. We'll talk.
To offer a maybe interesting other side to this brand conversation.
You're like, I do it all.
I did a video for Kill Cats.
Yeah. Kill Cats. No, there's like the other side of it where it's like a side of separate from fitting brands into existing shows. I've launched shows that like I could not afford to make at all on my own, just because of like the scale of production. And I think it's interesting and strange and have questions about the fact that like the only way to fund digital content is through brands. And so it is, and I love it for all the brands. But no, it is interesting that like if I'm going to make like Celebrity Substitutes a half hour and it is like a 60-person crew and we shoot at an elementary school for a whole day. We get there at 5 a.m. We leave at 5 p.m. Like we are there the whole day with a lot of people. There's crafty. And it ain't that cheap. And it has a brand baked into the storytelling of the show. And right now, the only way outside of that is to either lose ownership, like not retain the IP, or through like production company, venture capital, or go to a studio and then it isn't digital and you also don't have the IP. So like to make something and own something, you have to sell something. And I have questions about that. There should be other ways. But I love you, brands. Yeah.
Love you, brands.
Please come back for more.
I don't get approached by brands a lot. But I've done a few collaborations that I really liked. I did one with the Center for Biological Diversity that was
hell yeah,
amazing. That was a lot of fun. I think I've tried like the corporate brand things, and sometimes they don't always land right. I too have like turned stuff down because I do think, and fairly, all of our audiences expect some like ethical line not to be crossed, which is totally normal and right. So there are certain things that I just simply won't do. Like McDonald's wanted me to do something and they weren't paying. If they paid me $1 million, I would do a McDonald's commercial. But I
there's
just
a price. There's a price.
There's a price. I would do a McDonald's thing. But yeah, I think it's just down to you being judicious about the choices you make. And look, the more niche you are, sometimes the more exciting the collaboration is, something you maybe didn't expect.
I think for the Are You OK show, we haven't gotten anybody that I've been like, but also I think that we have so many episodes out, and like clients come to the show for a reason. They watch the show, they come to the show because they're like, all right, this is how they do it. I was talking to my manager before, actually. Like, we got Johnsonville sausage, which they're doing a Dr. Pepper sausage.
Yeah, I was going to mention the Dr. Pepper sausage. They're doing Dr. Pepper sausage.
It's good. I ate it, and I actually like it. But if I didn't, that would have sucked. But they, like, built in, we, like, went over a script about, like, what we want the show. Did you taste it and you hated it?
No, I said their tagline should be I ate it, and I actually
but they know the show, and so we were able to, like, bake me being like, you might hate this or you might like it, as opposed to me being like, you should love it, it's the best thing in the world. Like, it's authenticity. I just fortunately liked the sausage. But so I think that they watch the show, they know what the audience comes to us for. And so if I'm not the sales team, but I imagine that if someone came and was like, hey, change it all and make it really crappy, they'd probably be like, yeah, no. And then for my personal page, I think what you were saying of like, I curate, I'm pets, I'm fashion, I'm some hot takes, unless like Kill All Cats comes to me, I'm going to say no. But like, based off the content that I make, the sponsors come in. And so it just makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, I haven't had to say no to anybody yet, but it's because they see what I do, and it aligns with my content. And Kill All Cats.
We also have some awards to present to our creators. These are people who...
Shut up!
Can I bring this on my carry-on?
I literally was like, where is it going to fit in my bag?
They are kind of heavy, so
hat.
I hope you make it on your flights okay.
Thank you
Sabrina.
guys so much. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much.
Nice, a little
We're all like, we've never gotten an award before.
Mina.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Oh my God, thank you.
I'm leaving Austin with an award and a cowboy hat. And a dream.
All right, these
And
are
new
people
friends.
who are, breaking into our industry, but also bending it and changing it in a way that makes sense for them and their peers. So our 5 of our 10 creators to watch, everyone.
And thank you for writing into our wonderful moderator. Thank you.